This episode of Speak Now, Hold Your Peace is brought to you in part by Green Sister Botanicals, plant-based hair and body care. Visit greensister.com for your hair.
She's good. She's good.
Anytime there's a shooting, people are saying, we need more gun control law.
That's just human nature.
Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace, a live broadcast with real conversations about community social issues, politics, business, health, self-care, and more. We broadcast live on the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace Facebook group and the Speak Now, Hold Your Peace YouTube channel. And now, here's your host, Say What I Feel, Dre.
What's going on? What's going on? This is Say What I Feel. Welcome to Speak Now, Hold Your Peace. I'm Say What I Feel, Dre. And today we got a good episode. One of these episodes, this episode I wanted to share because one thing about this platform, I don't take it for granted. Anybody can go live and talk about whatever. But the question you got to ask is what you're saying, does it mean anything? Does it have any worth? Will it do somebody some good? And so I don't take my platform, I don't take it for granted. I don't take it lightly. And so this is why I'm doing this show. I felt that it was a need to do this show on the generational cycles, breaking these chains. So I couldn't do it alone. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't do it alone. I got two heavy hitters to my right and to my left. You hear me? I got two heavy hitters to the right and the left, man. They're going to share some of their knowledge. I'm going to learn something from them. Hopefully they learn something from me and we learn from each other. And if you're watching, feel free to, shoot us a comment or whatever. You do have to give permission so we can see your name and stuff, but feel free to shoot us a comment. So let's get started. I don't want to waste no time right now. I want to introduce one of my heavy hitters, my man E. Digger from Charm City TV. The man's full of knowledge. The man knows what he's talking about. That man is that dude. You know what I'm saying? If you see him walking down the street, go get the rose petals, man. Give it up for my man E. Digger. E. Digger, man. What's good?
Good, man. What's good?
What's going on, man? How you, brother?
Man, I'm living life, man. Everything's copacetic.
All right. That's what's up, man. I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm definitely glad you're here, man. All right, no problem. And I gotta introduce my other heavy hitter, the man this is the brother right here. This brother right here, man. I've known him for a while. He's been my supervisor. He's my frat brother. I always seem to get one of my frat brothers on this show for some reason. But he's my supervisor. He brings a ton of knowledge. I mean, when I say a ton, I mean a lot of knowledge. Just give it up for my homie right here, the man who got more letters behind his name than his letters in the alphabet, man. Give it up for my man, Lamont Josie. What up, Lamont? What's going on, brother? Man, y'all some heavy hitters, man.
I've never been called a heavy hitter, but
you're a heavy hitter, man. That's knowledge, man. That's knowledge, brother. Shoot, you know what I'm saying?
I'll take that.
Oh man. So look here, y'all. I want to talk about breaking those chains with those from them generational cycles, them negative generational cycles. And I thought y'all would be perfect fits for this. So I ain't gonna waste no time. I'm going to get into it. So in terms of generational cycles, I'll explain it my way, and I'll ask you guys, what do you think? But pretty much for me, generational cycles, and I keep it simple. I'm not going to drag it out, but generational cycles for me is repeated behavior, and it doesn't have to be negative either. It's just repeated behavior and different types of I guess what I would say traditions, for lack of a better word, amongst generational families in terms, passing it down from one to the other. seeing this from other generations, your past generations, and pretty much repeating those processes. So for me, pretty much generational cycle is just repeating those processes, repeating those behaviors that you see. It just behaviors, traditions, and things of that nature. So that's my definition of generational cycles. E Digger, what's your definition of generational cycles?
Pretty much what you just said. It's just repetitive, handed down from generation to generation. Some are good, some are not too good. Um, and it's funny because I was thinking about situation me and my dad. The things that he used to do with me, I do with my son, or used to do with my son when he was small. Um, but it don't necessarily. I think it don't necessarily have all of it. Some are negative, some are positive. And in my case, mine's was positive as far as generational to the exact T of it. Like, I'm big on barbershops, and there's nothing like a man going into the barbershop, getting his hair cut, grooming.
Indeed,
And
indeed.
that was my father's thing. Like, you going to get your hair cut. And I hated it back then. I was like, nah, dude, let me keep my bush.
Yeah, yeah.
And so he was like, no, we going to the barber shop. So it was like every Friday, he would come and get me, scoop me up, take me to the barber shop. And it's crazy because when my son was growing up, I did it with him. Like every Friday, every Saturday, we going to the barber shop getting our hair cut. So that for me is like handed down. You know,
Right.
I don't know if that was inherited blood, but it was the same exact thing. What he used to do with me, and I do with my son.
Right, right. Look,
Okay.
Lamar, what's your definition?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you actually said that it can be positive too, because most people, when they look at like things like this topic, they tend to focus mainly just on the negative,
Right,
especially within, with minorities. It's usually like a traumatic event, or it's talked in a negative sense. But I'm glad you guys stated that it can be also positive. I mean, it's not just a traumatic event or something that causes negative, behaviors, or it can be anything from behaviors to traditions to, something that started new with the family. And, usually, I mean, it can be anything from Sunday dinners to, down to teaching the males in the family how to open doors, and
right,
just, cycles like that. I mean, people usually don't consider that cycle, but it's the behaviors that's actually taught um, from generations, from
Hmm.
grandparents, aunts, uncles.
right,
Um, and a lot of times, like I said, it's talked about in a negative connotation, but it's not always negative. I teach
right,
my daughters certain things that I was taught by my mother, and and by my father, and you know hopefully they'll keep that cycle going. And hopefully we can actually focus on the positives.
right,
Right,
But of
right,
course, there are those negatives. There are those negatives that it only takes one negative to kind of wash out most of the positives.
right, right,
right,
So a
right,
definition is like you guys. I agree with both what you both said, which is one of the reasons I don't use a lot of statistics, because statistics can show what you want them to show.
right.
Depending on what you want them to say. So to answer your question, I mean, I agree with you guys. It's just behaviors, patterns, traditions, things of that nature that are passed down from different generations, um, and that's still going on within the
right,
families.
Right,
right,
right. And it's funny that we're talking about the negative and the positive because when I decided to do this show, my thought process was, and I did follow through with it, that just to talk about more of the negative, not so much because I'm trying to down anybody or down
Right,
my
right.
down, it's more like because I feel like maybe who's watching this is going to look at this and be like, yeah, you know what? I can break those negative cycles. Because
Mm-hmm.
one
Right.
thing I can say, if I talk about and that's some things that Edick already mentioned. He had some positive experiences and some negative. And I'm going to touch upon some of those positive experiences. Um, but I felt to lean more toward the negative because if people are watching with positive experiences, then maybe I am helping you, but no, am I helping you as much as somebody who's sitting in that room right now talking about I'm never going to be anything because my father wasn't
Right.
nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Mm,
So,
mm,
Mm-hmm.
for those who are watching, who you may I don't want you to think that we're just talking about the negative, and some might even say you're only talking about African Americans, and
Yeah.
to that point, like honestly, I'm just talking about in general, but
Right.
specifically with African Americans, if I can help my people, I'm gonna do it. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying. So I just wanted to let some of the people that's viewing this now, this is what it is. It's not like we taking stabs at people who come from families with negative cycles, because we all do.
right.
Right.
We all got that
Right.
that drug addict in our family. We got an alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
We got somebody who like to
Mm-hmm.
fight and they don't know
Mm-hmm.
how to turn it off, and it's just who they are. It's what they see. So
Yeah.
um so um in terms of like generational cycles, um the first thing I thought about was how are they formed, um sometimes I think a lot of times with me, for me anyway, mine were formed through my eyes and my ears. What I
Mm-hmm.
saw, what I heard, um,
Mm,
and like I said, there was a lot of good ones for the most part. So I didn't have a problem with it, in terms of breaking any type of cycles.
mhm.
But some of these families, they're forming these negative generational cycles and don't know it. And
Right.
and it's just, how do we let me tell you, how can I put this? At, Working in the mental health field, I've seen it.
Uh-huh.
So and I
Right.
asked myself, how do I tell this person that the stuff that you're doing is the reason why your kid is doing this? Because you got to be
Mm,
careful of how people are sensitive, and some people
mhm.
want to hear it straight, or they don't want to hear it at all, or they just want you to sugarcoat it.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so how do we approach, and not just in mental health and case management and stuff like that, but just in general, if you got a friend or whatever, how do we approach those who are are giving these or putting it the seed in place for negative generational cycles? How do we kind of slow that down, or how do we tell somebody that you're not being a good example for your son or your daughter or wherever it may be?
You want to nip it in the bud. I know both of y'all have heard this cliche, like, catch them young. Don't wait until they, teens. And I'm talking about parents to
Mm-hmm.
these kids right now, because like you said, Dre, this, they see what y'all doing. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
They picking up, they like sponges. They picking up on everything, they doing everything. And it's not necessarily the TV no more. It's being around people. I grew up in an era like you guys. When grown folks talk, I'm upstairs. I'm nowhere near the table.
Right.
Right.
You see what
Right.
I'm saying? There's a lot of young people who's at the table still.
Mm-hmm.
With mom, dad, uncle, aunt come over and they drink and they playing cards.
Yep.
You got the kids right there watching all of this behavior.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And how do you stop that? To answer your question, me personally, just my opinion, tell them to go upstairs. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Nip it in the bud while they're young, because when they grow up, it's going to be hard. See,
Mhm.
the thing that bothers me is a lot of parents, they want to be your friend. You see what I'm saying? And it's hard to parent and be friends with your children. Now, it's okay to, bond with your kids. And I'm not saying, just be a parent, embrace them, love them. But going to the club with your kid and drinking and smoking around, but come on, like,
Yeah.
I'm your parent. I am not
Right,
your
right.
friend.
Right. Right.
You see what I'm saying? So eh, for that right there, you see what I'm saying? Like I said, at a young age, they see what y'all doing. And the TV, like I said, a lot of people say, well, the stuff that, yeah, the TV too. But
Mm-hmm.
you're the parent. Sometimes you just need to get up and cut the TV off. Sometimes you just need to take the phone out of their
Mhm.
hands. You got 3 years olds that know how to navigate a phone better than a 45-year old. You see what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they're picking all of this stuff up from the TV to the phone. But who controls that? You do.
Right. Right.
When
Mhm.
you see your 3-year old or your 7-year old and your 9-year old, and notice I'm saying young ages, nip it in the bud, get up, look at it, cut the TV off, give them a book. You see what I'm saying? Take
Right.
that phone out the hand, give them a book, give them a coloring book, something, because as they grow older, they see all of this and think it's cool, and they're gonna pass it down to their kids.
Right.
You see what I'm
Right.
saying? And their kids
Mhm.
gonna think it's cool for them to do that.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think E and Dre, you guys both said very important things that that kind of shape what kids do. Dre, you said something very important about seeing and hearing. I think we all probably in the same age group, but our era, kids were seen and not heard. And we were not to be in those conversations with grown-ups. You know what I mean? A lot of that has changed. Like you said, where parents want to be friends. They're not knowing the difference between being friendly and having to be their friends. You know what I mean? Because it's the era of, 40's the new 30 and 50's the new this, and everybody's trying to be cool and all of that.
Right.
My growing up, I learned a lot of what not to do. You know, I come from a family where I was the youngest of nine. I was the first to
Mhm.
go to college, which brought a lot of, um, I guess, stress on me, which wasn't even mine to have.
Right.
And I say that because and we're talking about changing cycles and I'll tie it back in. Um, because I was the youngest, everyone was dumping, you don't do what I do, you don't do what I do, do as I
Mhm.
say.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's hard for a child and sometimes for parents, even these days, who are becoming parents at 13 and 12. And
Mhm.
um, Dre, you remember I don't know if you were there then, we had a kid that became pregnant at 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
had some of our case managers feeling like it was something, and I'm just getting out of the family a little bit, but the village is
Right.
still the village,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Right.
thinking that, hey, get her nails done and her hair done. And I'm like, what? Like, what? Huh? Like, you're not focusing on school or anything. I mean, and I mean, it really focuses on, it really comes down to education, and in a lot of sense, education in one sense of coming from the home. If your parents only know 1 plus 1, they can only teach that.
Yeah.
But they have
Right.
to be okay with saying, I don't know this. You
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying? And
Right.
being okay with that child learning it from somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
not, they have to be involved too in the schooling, not just to go up there and fight the teacher. You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Um, they, if you don't know, I I get, and I tell my clients plenty of time, I'm okay with not with what I don't know. You
Mhm.
just have to be okay enough to let that person get that knowledge that they need to grow. My mom had an 8th grade education. I didn't know
Mm.
that until I became an adult, but I
Mm.
Right.
thought she was college. You know what I mean?
Right.
Right.
So
Right.
I think how we stop that is of course, I would say, being okay with allowing the education to come through to that next child, and they keep building it, not necessarily formal. It doesn't have to be formal, just being open to letting your kid be exposed to new experiences. And because we can easily say, oh, I'm 50, so I'm mature and I know. But if I haven't been exposed to experience anything, what can I tell you? You understand
Right.
what I'm saying? Like, what
Right.
can I
Mm.
tell you except for how to get that check and have a kid young to get that check and repeat that cycle all over again?
Right.
But if I'm open enough to say, listen, I'm your dad, I don't know. Your teacher has an education. Let me talk with your teacher and let's see the things you don't know.
Right.
You know what I
Right.
Mhm.
mean? So I mean, I say all that to say, I think the village thing is very important.
Right.
Right.
And that village thing expanding to education, aunts, uncles, whatever, and kind of realizing, which is hard, some of the ignorances that we have, and
Right.
going back to, and it sounds like I'm ranting, but I'm
No,
trying to
no,
like
no. This is all good. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah,
following you. I'm definitely
bringing it
following you.
back, bringing it back to the fact of these cycles or these behaviors aren't all bad. We really just have to understand where they're coming from. And the word ignorance isn't bad. It's your limitation of what you know or have experienced.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? I took
Mhm.
my daughter when she was 1 to the Mediterranean, Italy. That I didn't want to spend a lot of money because I didn't have it. But
Mhm.
with my wife at the time, being a nurse, we took advantage of her being able to work on a ship a day, but letting us have the time for free to be there. So at 1,
Right.
and she's 8 now, and she still remembers those experiences, from the foods to how it tastes, and if she gets pizza from a pizzeria in our neighborhood as compared to how it tastes in Italy. You
Mm-hmm.
Right.
know what I mean?
Right.
So that makes her want to experience more.
Right.
Right.
I didn't know how to swim. I made sure my daughters
Yeah.
learned how to
Wow.
swim at young
Wow.
ages. And people laugh and they say, "Oh, black people don't know how to swim." I mean, when you go on vacation, you don't know how to swim. Oh, that's corny. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to mess up our hair, but half the time
Hmm.
we're not we're not experiencing the things that allow us to open our minds.
That's a good point.
Um,
Yep.
I hope I tied it back together with those. I
It,
mean,
it
because
makes plenty of sense. Plenty of
yeah, we,
Perfect
sense.
we,
sense.
we, we, we
Yeah.
stick on a negative too much,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
breaking those cycles, we have to include everybody, man.
Yeah.
From white, black, we have to
Right.
have teaching moments with everything.
Yep.
Like from the Capitol, storming of the cap. We have to make those teaching moments.
Right.
You know,
Right.
um, so that's how I think we can break it. I mean, it's always coming back to education because a lot falls under education, and I don't mean you know, in the formal sense of having to get the letters I have behind my name. I don't know what half of those letters mean. You know, I knew what I had to do. You know, I did what I had to do what I wanted to do. You know what
Right,
I mean?
right, right.
And that's you know, one of the things that, you know, I knew I wanted to make sure my kids weren't ignorant to certain things, and
Right.
teaching them, if they have children, to do the same thing.
Right, right.
So that's part of what I think. Hopefully, you know,
Yeah.
you guys caught my rambling in the
No, no,
cage.
that's good. Yeah, look, that's good information, man. If you had to repeat that, I'd want you to repeat it, man. It's good information.
Right.
I want to go back to a point where, well, both 2 points. One from you, E Digger, and one from you, Lamont. E Digger, when you told me children should be upstairs when they have company,
Mhm,
I totally agree
mhm,
with that. You know why?
mhm.
Because the only time I came downstairs when my mom had company, when she wanted me to dance. You know, Mom Dukes. You know how Mom Dukes do. She tell you to come on downstairs. Go ahead and dance for them. That
That's
was
crazy.
it. That was
That's
it.
crazy because my mom did this height thing. It was like, she was like, "Well, how big is your child? How tall is your child? Is he a high Ernest?" And I came downstairs, and it was one or two things: to
Uh-huh.
get her something or the height
Right,
thing. Like
Exactly.
she's about as big as
right,
my
right,
baby boy.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right,
That was it. Then I would go right back upstairs.
Yeah. Yeah.
right,
I'm fine with that,
Yeah.
because
right.
I ain't want to be around. I wanted to be around my family, but I knew my time at a young age.
Right.
And I'm not saying this just because it's me. I knew my place.
Right.
You see what I'm
Okay.
Mhm,
saying?
Mm-hmm.
mhm.
I'm gonna give you another example, not to be,
Okay,
but
that's fine.
I used to drink beer at a
Mm-hmm.
young age. Like when my uncles and everybody come over and they would leave beer
We
over
all
at the
did that. I
house,
think we.
I'm sipping, I'm guzzling because I thought that beer tastes like soda.
Right.
So I'm chugging.
Uh-huh.
To this day, I hate beer. Hate it with a passion.
Right, right.
Oh, yeah, man,
I
that's
don't know if
crazy.
it's the taste. I don't know what brand to get. When you say, you want a beer?" No.
No.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Yep. So yeah, I feel you on that, man. The second point I wanted to make about when you said, Lamont, when you said about a teachable moment, I'm gonna just share this with you real quick. I must have been I don't know, maybe 12 or 13. I played Pop Warner football, and we do what they call nutcrackers. So for those who don't know, you lay down. One person's on this side, one person's on this side, and you're laying down. And sometimes they have you spread out a little bit more further apart. But you lay down, you get up, I get the ball, and then I go head on. Just try to, And even in football games, I when I got the ball, I kept putting my head down and running. And he kept making me, in practice, he kept making me do it over and over again and over and over. For I think I did it for 30 minutes straight. And he wouldn't tell me why I kept doing it. Like why he wouldn't tell me why he kept making me get up, get the ball, run. And it wasn't until he told me that I stopped doing it. So he would say, you know why I keep telling you to do that? Why? I don't know. You hate me? Because that's what I thought he did. I had a smart mouth. I know that's hard to believe, y'all. But I had a little mouth on me. I was mouthy, but he was like, when you put your head down, you can't see where you're going. You're so scared. You're so scared of getting hit that you put your head down and run with your head down. And he's like, you know what's going to happen if you keep doing that? He's like, somebody who puts their head down to tackle is going to come head on with you, and y'all going to hit heads, and your spine is going to be either aching real bad for a week, or you might be paralyzed. I mean, you're taking a big risk. So ever since then, every time I ran with the ball with my head up, I got more yardage. So I say that to say, when parents say, what's that saying?
Tell them about getting you to grind and putting your head
No,
down.
like, yeah, when they say don't do what I do what I say, you in terms of like putting a like breaking that chain, how to break that chain, we got to stop saying don't do what I do, do what I say, because and if they take a different approach to that and say don't do what I do, just do what I say, and give a reason why, like that coach did, give them a reason why, because when you say don't do what I do, just do what I say, they like, the hell with you. How you gonna tell me? How you gonna tell me not to do this when you do it? But if there's a reason behind it, half the kids will probably be like, okay, well, why? Why can't I smoke? You smoke. Well, you know, I made the mistake and got into the habit of smoking. It's an addiction now, and I'm addicted. And I developed cancer. God forbid, I developed cancer. My lungs are not the way they are. I'm coughing. Oh, that's why you don't do it. That's why you. That's why you don't want me to do it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now and then it gives two reasons. It answers those questions. You don't want me to do it because you don't want me to be like you, get sick and health wise, and you're doing it because you're addicted. So that's a whole nother thing, an addiction. But at least they have an understanding of why they say don't do what I do, just do what I say. You know what I mean? I think that needs to come with an explanation, and I think that's like half the battle right there.
Right.
You know, just give me reasons why. Tell me why 1 + 1 is 2. Explain it. Don't just say it. You know what I'm saying? So those 2 points, I just wanted to make that point because I thought that was important. That was something deep. So yeah, I just thought that was very
right,
important.
Though, with that, because it's a lot of times parents go off of, well, because I'm grown, because I'm the parent, because I said so. You know what I mean? And some things are just that, but I mean, not everything can be that. You
Right.
know, and it's like I don't have to explain anything to a kid, and it's like, actually, you do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want them to be better, like we as parents want our kids to be.
Right.
You know, it can go back to ignorance and what that parent, if that parent wants that child to be better, because misery loves company sometimes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know, and, so it's a lot of factors in there, but you know, these are some good solutions and good explanations on certain things. You know, what I've found, and I let people know, is that you got to be okay with not reaching everyone either. Also, I'm sorry. You know, a lot of people in my field, they get into this field because they're either dealing with some kind of issue of their own, or they want to fix somebody else because they don't want to deal with their own situations, or they just want to feel like, you know, I'm doing something for someone else. You have to know your limitations. You have to know, you know, who you can work with, and as well as being open and being okay. I've never had any problems talking to parents, because I let them know up front. You know, when you're telling me something and you're venting, tell me that you're venting, because if I know something that you're wrong about, I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to not say, hey, you're wrong. I'm going to give you the facts and back those up with some kind of citation or something, saying, well, this says something different. You know what I mean? Here's that explanation again, not just saying you're an ignorant parent, you don't know. You know what I mean? Because once again, you have to teach the parent too.
Yeah.
And you have to know how to, you have to know how to approach, you know, because most people can get just about anything with me with the right tone. You know what I mean? It's a difference in saying, hey, those are some nice shoes, as compared to those are some nice shoes. You know what I mean? And laughing at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, we have to be open, man. We really have to be open, and we have to want better for each other as well as our kids. So yeah, definitely.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask y'all this. Let's just say that kid is an adult now, and one thing about being an adult, and when you go through something and then you have children of your own, we all have this thing called freedom of choice. We had the freedom to make choices to do this or do that. Now, with the generational cycles, the negative generational cycles, that those negative things, we have a choice to say, hey, look, I went through this and I don't want this, I don't want my kid to go through this. Or we can say, hey, I went through this, so if they go through it, oh well. And that could be
That'll be okay. Yeah.
yeah, that could be abuse. That could be whatever. It could be whatever. Who 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 should be held more accountable if that particular adult decides to go with the negative? You see what I'm saying? So what I'm asking is, who should be accountable? Because here we have, and this comes up in courts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It came even last week with I talked about this my last episode. Those two girls, the 13-year-old and 15-year-old, that carjacked that guy in DC.
Right.
Who bears the responsibility of? We're talking about adults now, but I just want to bring that up. But who bears the responsibility? Like right now, if I got, let's just say if I got abused, and I decide to abuse one of my kids, which I would never do. Who is that? Is it? That's not. Let me take that back, because abuse is just pretty much against the law. Let's just say I got an attitude. I got an attitude of fighting all the time because my dad was like, "Yo, anybody get in your face, you knock them the heck out. You knock them out. You don't play that. Don't bow down for nobody. Don't get down on knee nobody." So when somebody come up to me all the time, I'm an adult now, and somebody come to me, say something to me, oh, we gonna fight. So who bears the responsibility of that? You know what I mean? Wow. Because you got a choice. You can do it because you know what happened to your dad. You know what happened to your dad when he got in them streets and fighting. He wound up shooting somebody and he's doing 20 years. Or you can just be like, look, I'm not gonna be like him, so I'm gonna go this way. But when that doesn't happen, when they don't go that way, who's more responsible? Is it that person that decided they don't want to break the chain, or is it the father or the family member that placed that negative generational cycle on them?
That's hard.
It is. Yeah,
that is hard.
I see your face. I see your face.
Yeah,
I mean, I can if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, go ahead. No.
That's when you can kind of get into the two things. One thing is when I talk to people and they talk about, well, I was abused and such and such and such, and I know it's wrong, and it's like, okay, so you identified the problem, it's your problem now, so what are you going to do about it? Well, I don't want no counseling and such and such. Now it's your fault. You're accountable for it because you identified that you have a problem and you identified where it comes from and you need help with it. You can't continue to keep blaming, because I did a paper on victims becoming like predators. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's natural. Some women become promiscuous after being raped because they feel like that's it. It's weird. Domestic violence is the same thing. A woman told me, a beautiful woman came in, inside and out. She was just, she told me, and to this day I remember, she says, my husband will come in every day from work at 6 o'clock. By 6:30, I knew he was yelling at me. So I can brace myself for it. If I go with somebody new, now I got to worry about whether it's 5 o'clock, if they're going to call me on lunch break and yell at me, or you understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's that fear of unknown, and you're just like, what? And but it's, to them, it's easier to know when to deal with it and what to deal with. And it's crazy. It seems crazy to us that somebody will endure that and continue to, but it's in their quote unquote comfort zone. It also comes down to the level of what we call trauma, because you have 3 levels of that. You have acute, chronic, and complex. Acute is like in a single event. Let's say they saw their parent get shot one time. So they have that in their head. Let's say they saw both parents get shot, separate occasions, then they saw their brother get shot and they saw their brother say, that's when you're getting into the chronic. But if it's a mixture, you're talking about complex and you're talking about, let's say you're a kid, that's going to hit harder in your head. And you may have different triggers later on that may trigger something, and you may be thinking you're fine, but somebody might do or say something that triggers those thoughts where you didn't have to deal with them before. Your maturity level, you might have thought was okay.
Right.
So the accountability may switch back to those events and the people that did those events, but it's still some accountability on that person to get the help. You know, so it depends. To me, it depends on the level of event or trauma, or that's why I wanted to explain trauma, that experience. You know, I deal with people. You know, we have a substance abuse program, and they just get high so that they won't think about what happened to them. You know, it coats the pain. I know we deal with people who shoot up because, you know, that end result is nowhere near the end result of seeing their dad stab their mother. You know what I mean? So it's weird. The actual injection, he relates to, you know, his mom getting stabbed, and you know, you have to, once again, you have to be open to what people explain to you, and realize that it's not your trauma, it's theirs. You know, and you have to take that into effect. And once again, we'll bring it back. But to, you know, that accountability sometimes depends on the level of trauma that they've been through, the level of the experiences that they've been through, and maybe what age, because the brain continues to develop, and you can only take but so much. You know, even me as a therapist, I would have to go to a therapist every 6 months, and people that work for me, I told them, you or work with me, I would say it's a good idea if you go and dump that on somebody else, and some way it'll get dumped back on me, and it's a cycle. You know, but it gives you that break. You have to know. I mean, you know, these some of these suggestions may seem easy, but applying them is hard as all whatever. You know what I mean? And we can't give up on that. We have to be okay with having the resilience that kids have, and continue, you know, tenacity to go, to continue, man. You know, it takes a certain type of person to want to see others grow, and see others, you know, get over their own stuff. You know? So I think it depends. To answer your question, I think it depends on that level of trauma, or that traumatic event that causes those people to feel that way. And that's it. That's not even, that's, once again, that doesn't always have to be a negative thing. It's like repetitive. Like kids may not know math, but they'll know the hooks to a song because it's repetitive. It's over and over and over again. If every Sunday you're having dinner, then it's ingrained in your head. You understand what I'm saying? So repetition, you know, your actions also. So it can be a good thing or a bad thing. That level of teaching can also be who's accountable for that. You know, grandmothers and fathers, and, you know, like you were saying with the haircut and everything, it's depends on how much you do it. Being continuous makes it a big difference. You know?
And I think with the especially mental health, like you said that you know, we all need to unload. And I totally agree. We all need to unload. It don't have to be nothing wrong with you. It's
Mm-mm.
it ain't got nothing to do with something you're crazy. You just I go sometimes. We used to go to the barbershop because it was therapeutic. You were getting
Yeah,
therapy without even
definitely.
knowing it. So that's
Right.
basically
Definitely.
what therapy is, going to the
Definitely.
barbershop. And one of
Right.
those, and we passed that down from generation to generation. And now it's starting to get a little bit more like, okay, you can go. But I mean, for years, like years back in the day, all the way up to now, it was just like, we just totally dismissed mental health.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Because back then, you were just crazy. No, like there's a lot of things going on in this world right now, and we all need to talk to somebody. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, yeah,
Talk to
you
each
don't even
other.
exactly. I mean, even like the stuff that like we could talk now. We just three men talking now. It just
Hmm.
happens to be live, but like they just bounce around these ideas. Sometimes this stuff, like the way the world is, it sometimes I sit up in the bed at night and I'm just like, damn, like I feel bad that the world is the way it is, and
Right.
it's just like
Mm-hmm.
this show gives me the opportunity to say that because it's
Right.
therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
It's holding this stuff in,
Exactly.
especially being a black man. I'm the most to the world. You all three of us, we're the most dangerous people to them. We're the most dangerous people in the world,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
the most
and
feared. Yeah.
yeah, and we and for us, it's just like we're the most hunted. We
Hmm.
we out in these woods
Mm-hmm.
and we're being hunted like dogs or
Mm-hmm.
deer. So therapy. I think that's one of the things that I would definitely want to see the chain broken with that in terms of
Mm-hmm.
stop telling your son or
Mm-hmm.
daughter that you don't need therapy. That's for crazy people. That's for white
Right.
people.
Right. Right.
Right.
That's just ignorance, man. It's
Right.
ignorance. It's a lack of. I think and I'm not saying this to put anybody down. It's just a lack of education. It's just a lack of knowledge. You just don't
Mm-hmm.
know. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you just don't know better because your mother and your grandmother and your great grandmother they never believed in that, and
Right.
they never told you that. So
And therapy comes in different forms.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
don't
Definitely.
necessarily think that, just like you said, going to the barbershop is therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love the barbershop. You know, there's nothing for me to go to the barbershop. I don't even have to get a haircut. I
right,
just walk in and, I mean, if you have a close connection,
Mm-hmm.
with the
Mm-hmm.
barbershop, I
yeah.
wouldn't just recommend just
Yeah.
going in there.
Just
I
come
mean,
and
where,
sit
where,
down.
Um,
I'm gonna let you get right. Where else can you get CDs and movies at? That's
right,
Exactly.
$5. So
right.
go ahead, brother. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's the conversation for me because it's not always what we talk about current. It could be
Mm-hmm.
anything. You see what I'm saying? The barbershop I go to now, man, these brothers, they talk about everything
Yeah.
Mhm.
and it's engaging. And just what you just said about, sometimes you just gotta, you know, dump it or change the subject, so to speak, and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
talk about something else other than what's going on now.
Yeah.
And you go in
Or
there
see
and
a
the
different
conversation,
perspective, you know?
yeah, the conversation could be about wrestling or sports, or something that happened in the shop couple of minutes before you got there. You see what I'm saying? But you're right. I grew up and there was a lot of parents, believe it or not, telling their kids, you don't need therapy. I'm your counselor. I'll talk to you.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
You
yep,
see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
yep,
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
kind of odd, because sometimes you just got to hear it from someone else,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
The same
Sometimes,
thing.
right. You just got
Yeah.
to hear
yep,
it. Now, moms, I
Mm-hmm.
love you. Dad, I love
Mm-hmm.
you, but maybe I just need to hear it from this person. You see
yeah,
what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Maybe I can relate to something that he or she said other than what you said or what
right,
she
Yeah.
said. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
I
Or how you said it.
and
Yeah.
you know what's
right, right, right.
You know what's funny about what you said? Maybe in terms of hearing it from somebody else. When you and I work together, and this is one of the things that everybody's doing now. Agencies are doing. When we build a treatment team, we want more informals than formal supports. We don't want more nurses. We don't want no more counselors. We want your neighbor. We want your barber. Have them come in, because when we're out of there, you're gonna need some supports. And sometimes I had a kid who he wouldn't come to the meetings unless if his friend was there, and he would act up. He would act up at the meeting, and his friend be like, "Yo, chill," and he'd chill. Had his mother told him that, he would have cussed her out. Had I told him that, he would have told me to go to hell. Had his father told him that, he was like, hell with you. But his friend was like, "Yo, chill." He's like, all right. So like you said, E-Digger, you're right, man. You can hear it from somebody, and they could be 100% right, but sometimes they got to hear it from somebody else. Yeah. You know, especially when you're a parent and you teaching your kid math and you saying you got to do it like this, they ain't trying to hear that, man.
They ain't trying to hear that.
My mom had this thing, you know, it's funny. God rest my mom. So she would name all these people, like my dad. I'm gonna tell your dad on you. I'm gonna tell Kim, that's my sister. I'm gonna tell David.
Right.
I'm scared of David.
Right.
Don't you can tell anybody, but don't tell David. You know,
don't tell David. So, no, my brother was the same to me. You know, God bless his soul. He was that cool. You know, he was like Fat Albert. You know what I mean? And he was, and everybody knew Big Chuck, and you know, and you know, I wanted his okay more than anything. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people would see me, they'd be like, "Oh, that's a little Chuck. That made my day." You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, and that's just it. Like I said earlier, you know, as parents, we have to find and be open to that person that you relate to, and it be okay. It's not that person is taking your place. It's you bring that person in. You know, and Dre, like you mentioned, you know, when we used to talk about informals to formals, I still use that. Like when they come in, I tell them, you know, and you know, a teacher does that. Well, that's my wife, the psychiatrist. She says the same thing. Our job is to put ourselves out of a job sooner or later, not for you to continue to see me a year or two down the line. You know what I mean? Because I can milk your insurance all day, but if you're doing good work for that person, if you don't have a connection, be okay with saying I don't know. We've hit a block, you know. And I tell parents all the time, find that person that they connect with,
right?
You know,
right.
But to this day, I have some parents come and it's like, "Well, you're not in my child's life enough," and I'm like, "What?" Like, is that person's last name Josie, or you know what I'm saying? Or you know, it's like you're like, what do you mean? Like, and it goes back to the accountability. You know, it's a fine line of you know, you're supposed to do this and you're supposed to act like the father or the mother or whatever, and you know, and you're not putting that on the accountability on that person who's supposed to be responsible for that. So you know, once again, we have to, as much as you remember that saying, Dre, each one teach one. You know
Absolutely.
What I mean? We have to be okay with that.
Absolutely.
We have to be okay with that. And you know, I've been cursed out many a times, man. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, I got 8 sisters, man. I felt bad for their boyfriends, and you know, and to this day, I'm just like, how he take that? You know what I mean? And you know, you just got to be okay with saying, you know, even if my child doesn't get it from me, let me work with somebody that they can get it from. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like it's you got to be okay with that. But a lot of times, what we do is say, I don't want no man around my kid, but you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Or I don't want no other woman around my.
Yeah. Yep.
It's you know, but at the same time, in the same breath, we'll say it takes a village.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you know.
So you know, it's man, it's all relevant,
And you know what's crazy? Before we for the viewers watching, before we got on, I told E Digger and Lamont that I had a story. So I'm gonna tell it right now, and it just goes to show like the mentality, like like why is this not wrong to you? Like why? And I'm not. Maybe I shouldn't say you didn't think it was. She didn't think it was wrong, but it was just strange. So I pull up at a house. I was doing some counseling, intensive in-home counseling. I pull up right in front of the house. I call. I'm like, Mrs. Such and Such. I'm in front of the house. Boom, boom, boom. Like I guess about 20 yards in front of me. Boom, 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 boom. Then they run. The other ones come running after them. Boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, Miss Such and Such, they shooting out here, so I'm not going to get out the car yet. But as soon as they kind of keep running and going, I'm going to get out. She's like, oh, I got to go get him. I mean, she's like, when I said they shooting, she's like, oh, I got to go get him. Shooting, you mean you got to go get him because he's not home, he had baseball practice, or you got to go get him because he out in the streets? And she ain't answer. I never got the answer. So I'm assuming, and I shouldn't assume, but I'm assuming that she was just didn't want to tell me. But then again, she's like, oh, I got to go get him. Like, and I think, honestly, I think he was one of them out there. I think he was one of them out there because I've seen him out there before with those same dudes. And it's just like, okay, where is the, he shouldn't do that. Like, it seemed like it was it was the norm. Oh, that's just such and such. He out there, he got his urgency. Gun. No urgency. No urgency.
Yeah.
Man.
It kind of reminds me when I called this one mother. I'm like, Miss Jones, such and such did say she don't want to. I told her to pull out her book and do read chapter 1, answer questions 1 through 5, and she said I ain't doing shit. And the mom was like, well, Mr. Lewis, what you want me to do about it? Okay, thank you.
Right.
Like, that's all I need to hear.
Yeah.
There's no more talking after that. Like, I know the level. Yeah. I know that threshold that you let your daughter get to before she starts to listen, and I can't do that. As a teacher, I can't get that high. I can't pull out a belt, or I can't say, and I wouldn't cuss out a kid, but a lot of these kids respond to their mothers and fathers cursing at them, and it's just like, I hope that doesn't happen. Well, I was about to say, I hope that doesn't happen when they have children, but I do have a quick story about that. I had one kid, she was fifth grade. So, kids gonna be kids. Well, one of the girls didn't like her, so just one girl didn't like her. So she's like, yeah, I want to fight you after school, whatever. So the girl calls her mom. Her mom shows up. So the girl that wants the girl that said, I want to fight you after school, not her mom, but the girl that she wanted to fight, her mom shows up. 6 women, grown women. They had Vaseline. They had Vaseline in their hand doing this, putting it on their face. And they want to fight this girl. We had to call the police. To this day, that girl that whose mom wanted to fight, she's doing the same thing now. Like, she's rough, man. She's rough. Like, she will fight anybody. She just went to rehab, but she got out of rehab because she got kicked out of there for fighting. And I'm just like, this is the cycle that is gotta be broken. Like, this is the cycle that has to be broken, man. Because if not, we just gonna continue to see that same old stuff, a repeat. I couldn't believe that, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's the, like you said, that's the repeat. It's the, I see that all the time. Like I mentioned earlier, it's like you if the teacher tell you to come up for a teacher parent conference, it's like, I don't have time for that, But then when it's like the teacher said what, and everybody, I've seen uncles come up being ready to fight women, and that's where I draw the line, and I like certain populations that I don't work with because I know my limits.
Right.
Certain things, having 8 sisters, I don't deal with because I know my limits. Because then, as professional or how many other letters come, the North Philly comes out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like I can't. like you're a man.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? Like you're a man and you want to fight this woman who's trying to teach your kid or your niece or nephew. Like you're a man.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and it's so okay now.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to stay away from situations like that myself. But there's one of those negative gaps and
Yeah,
those negative behaviors and
yeah. Yep.
we just have to be in it. We have
Right.
to commit to be in it on a day to day,
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
because it's not something that's going to be unfortunately handled or settled when unfortunately in our lifetime. You
Yeah.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And you and you work from inward out and out. You know what I mean? You deal
Mm-hmm.
with your family and then you work out. I mean,
Right. Right.
Right.
like I said, many of us want to work on other people's families and kids, but don't want to work on our
Right.
own.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
So
So
I don't know.
so what are we
It's a
gonna
lot, man.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is, man. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna wrap up here, but before we wrap up, I'd like to get final thoughts from both of you. Starting with you, E Digger. Just a quick final thought on this particular topic, and I'll go to you, Lamont, and then we'll wrap it up.
Final thought, man. To some way, somehow, we just got to break it. You know, if we don't break it, it's just going to be repetitive. And I'm speaking about the negative,
Right.
generational cycles. Now some positives, hey, let them keep going.
Right.
But the negatives, some way, somehow, we just somebody gotta be the bigger person and just put an end to it.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
All right, Lamont.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's going to take education, and not in a formal sense, but just I'll put education as a umbrella, and under that, really being truly being open minded. You know
Right.
what I mean? And another key factor, exposure, positive exposure.
Right.
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 I set up something where some of our kids go to take care of animals and horses, and you won't believe how that
Right.
Right.
changes these kids' behaviors. So giving exposure, education, and being really open minded, which aren't easy things to do, but I think that will be something that really would break these cycles and chains.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I'm going to give my final thoughts. Generational cycles can be the gift and the curse.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to push for that gift because in terms of generational cycles, there's a lot of good things, man. There's a lot of good things, going different places that you haven't even been. You could take your kids and y'all can experience that yourself together. And that's a memory that you're always going to have no matter what. There's generational cycles in which, you have family traditions, Christmas, y'all doing this and that. And you carry that from for your kids and their kids, and it just carries. So there's a lot, let's move toward the more positive generational cycles, because what happens with these negative generational cycles is just like, you put a CD in a CD player, and we don't have those now, but we use digital now. But you hit
I
that,
do.
yeah. If that CD is in that radio and it's on repeat, as soon as that song is over, it's gonna come on again, and then when it's over, it's gonna come on
Right.
again. If you don't stop that repeat, it's gonna drive you crazy hearing that same old song. So if you don't stop this negative generational cycle, if you don't hit that repeat button to stop it, it's just gonna keep happening. And we don't want that. We don't want it for the world. We don't want it for your family. We don't want it for our family. So let's just find a way to stop that. There's resources out there, and there's plenty of resources out there to help you break that cycle. So And that's another thing. Before I go, I want Lamont, I want you to tell us about your agency, your organization, and this could be a resource for you too. So I'm going to end it right there. So Lamont, if you could tell us about your organization, and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay. Well, I am the founder and owner of a mental health, behavioral health, and substance abuse practice. One is called Your Center Counseling Services. Another is Phoenix Center for Health and Wellness. They're both located in Delaware. Um, and we've been in business for probably about 5 years now. We took the time to gather some people who were actually okay with going in the trenches, going into the homes and all that. But we try to make an umbrella of services which cover everything from individual therapy to family, group, sexual predators, all kinds. That's where you see all of those name letters behind my name. Like I said, and we set it up for our community. When I say our, there was a need for minorities to see minorities in front of them. It's not that we don't see white or other people. We have some Caucasians that work for us, but we're based on a foundation of quality over quantity. And I spoke on education a lot because that's what we want you to be educated on your symptoms and not some diagnosis that someone gave you. So we even in our substance abuse program with Phoenix Center for Health and Wellness, when you come through our program, we also give you the hours of education in case you want to move on to become a peer specialist to help other people. So it's we have some good programs. Anything that you might want to know for your center is www.thisisyourcenter.com. That's www.thisisyourcenter.com. The same with Phoenix is they both have Facebook pages. Phoenix, we're working on the website now because there's a lot of things that we have to make sure liability wise for substance abuse. But there is a Facebook and Instagram page. You can just look up Phoenix, PHOENIX Center for Health and Wellness. Both you'll see my big head on there, so you can recognize it. But yeah, we're really trying to work with different agencies and bring that education. We separated the two for various reasons. The mental health side and the substance abuse side, many times they come together, but we wanted to separate the two so that we can cover all bases. So yeah, we're always open to suggestions. You can leave comments, all of that. If you just go on the web page or the Instagram page or the Facebook page. So
and I'll definitely leave a link inside this on the Facebook page and the Facebook group. So you can, if you didn't get that information, I'll put the link on there so you have access to it. All right.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So this is I'm gonna wrap it up. E Digger, Lamont, stay on. Don't go nowhere. After we wrap this up, we talk afterwards. But I'm gonna wrap it up, and I'm gonna thank you all for tuning in and listening. Thank you for your time. I don't take that for granted. There's probably 1,000 things you could have did tonight, but you chose to listen, and I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Be safe, be blessed, and we love you. E Digger, Lamont, stay on. We out of here. All right. See y'all later.
All right.
Thank you for watching the Speak Now Hold Your Peace live broadcast. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube and join us on the Speak Now Hold Your Peace Facebook group.